Before we get started, we're just going to give it a couple minutes, let some people join up. I see people are starting to jump in now, which is excellent. Glad to see that. I see some very familiar faces. So welcome, everybody.
Yeah, welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Now, I do have an itinerary that we're going to go through. We're going to try to stick with it. We're going to try to keep this to about an hour or so. I expect it's going to run a little longer. If we run a little longer, no problem. We'll just keep plowing through until we get through all the questions that we want to get through. Once again, thank you for everyone showing up. Still see some more faces, so let's just give it a couple more minutes. Welcome, everybody. We are going to open up the stage to allow some members to speak. I'm very excited to hear some of you pipe in, and I'd like to hear some of your opinions on things, maybe get some questions on development. Maybe if we don't get to the questions, you might have one that we'd like to hear. So, Yoven, would you like to say anything before we get started?
Well, of course, thanks everybody for joining in, right? Community makes this project great, in the long run. And I would say we got some questions also, which have been put in the AMA channel, so maybe can take a look at that as well when we finish our information, right?
Yes. All right. So I think I'm happy to get started now. It's just been a couple minutes. People start funneling in, and then if they have questions, that they can start asking them afterwards. So before I do get started, a little mic check. Can everyone hear me all right? Can you guys hear me good?
You're good.
All right. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our very first live AMA. I'm very much happy to see you guys showing up here. So first things first, I'm going to do a little project introduction. We are Battle Borgz, building on the one and only Cardano. Isometric game, fully sci-fi, fully cybernetic all the way. It's going to be a real-time action game. So we're really looking forward to what we have to bring you guys, and it's going to be a blast, both proverbially and not. So personal introduction, and of course, I am the community manager, Justin. I'm sure most of you know me by now. I've talked to many of you privately in DMs, and for those of you who have not, I've seen you in chat, so I recognize everyone I see. So I'm going to pass the mic off to Nick, who is our project leader. So Nick, if you could please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Hello, everyone. So I'm Nick. I founded Battle Borgz, coming up actually for around a year ago. Started this project in October of last year. I'd been thinking about it for a few months before then, but officially kind of started the process around October, end of October, early November last year. As Justin said, I'm the founder and the project manager, essentially. So managing our current team and putting everything together, and trying to make the sum of all parts into as good of a project as we possibly can. A little bit about myself. I have experience in kind of event management related to the hospitality industry. And that was my main career, and I started a business related to that pre-COVID-19 pandemic. And around that same sort of time, I was getting interested in blockchain and Cardano. And due to COVID, we kind of closed that event management business, and it was time to get into something new. And I kind of used it as an opportunity to start a project that I was truly interested in. So that's kind of the origin of Battle Borgz and where it came from. It was something that I'd been interested in for quite a long time, and didn't really know how to sort of integrate myself into that space, and didn't have time to really. But after I was kind of opportunity presented itself, I took the leap, and that's how we founded Battle Borgz, essentially.
Well, this ecospace definitely presented you the opportunity to do that, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm really glad it did. it's been a great journey so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So going back to myself before I get to Yoven, I found the project. I think it was about January or so, maybe just after Christmas. Just became an early seed Borg, buying into the tokens. As things developed, Nick needed a moderator. I applied to it. He humbly gave it to me, and then as things moved forward, he offered me the position of community manager, and then just kept moving forward to where we are today. So, right on. That's thank you, Nick, for talking about yourself. I appreciate that, as well as offering me the opportunity to manage the community for you. Now I'm going to move on to our newest member, our head of security. This member has offered us quite a lot of insight and advice as to the projection of our project as a member, as an investor. And as a seed Borg myself, I really take a lot of appreciation to that kind of advice. So eventually, as time moved forward, we needed to expand our team, and Yoven was someone who was I guess what I'm going to say Nick saw in myself. It was just someone who could bring something to the table, who really cared about the project. So I approached him, and then as time moved forward, he eventually became on the team. So I welcome you, Yoven, our head of security. Thank you for everything you've done. Please take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Justin, and hello, everyone. So I've been recently got into the team, and I've mainly was very busy with setting up the Discord server, right, managing the community like Justin does, but a little bit more on the background. A lot of work has yet to be done, so I'm concerned with that.
Yes, you're much better at than I am. I will admit that.
Providing some insight to the project. I've ran a couple of communities myself, mainly in gaming projects, and I hope to bring that insight to this project. So thank you for the opportunity to become part of the team.
No, thank you. We're really happy to have you on board, and I'm sure the community is as well. You bring a lot to the project. So, all right. So we're going to move forward a little bit after that. So let's see. We've talked about a little bit about the project history. Nick did. So for a lot of people who don't know, as many of you probably do know, but for those of you who don't know, Battle Borgz was originally a 2D vision. It was kind of a cartoon style. It was the same thing where it was cyborgs, but there was more flair to it in the cartoon 2D side of things. However, as the project moved forward, we saw the vision for more of a 3D game. That's something that we wanted to create, and the 2D wasn't really translating well into the 3D. So we ended up kind of going for a more realistic view with a high quality 3D NFT view, which is what brought us from the 2D to the 3D. And for those of you who don't know, the 2D is going to be our legacy NFT collection, which we are offering to our OG Borgs. We're going to deal with that after the mint. We'll talk about that afterwards, but that is just a little bit of a history about us. So I'm going to move forward onto some specific AMA questions. And I'm going to have Yoven, since he is actually the person who asked these questions originally prior to joining the team. I'm going to pass the mic off to him and have him ask some of these questions, since they were his questions to begin with. I've rearranged them a little bit from the original order, but they're all there. You've got the questions, and then I'll give you guys the answers to them.
You'll answer my original questions, which I put up in the AMA channel.
That's right, yes.
Awesome. So I asked Justin first, like, what type of game Battle Borgz, right? So I was thinking, like, hey, is it going to be a shooter, right? FPS, RTS, TBS? What kind of game is it going to be?
TPS. What's TPS? For those who don't know.
Let's see, turn-based.
Turn-based shooter. Okay, all right.
So
turn-based shooter.
I thought you meant third-person shooter there.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. Okay, so that's a great question, because some people try and envision the project. And we do have a video that's going to come out after this that I have recently recorded that will show you some of this, as well as we already have that video footage up on our YouTube channel. So I encourage you to go check that out for those of you who haven't seen it. So the kind of game it's going to be will be like a MOBA style game, one big map where you've got 2 spawn points on either sides of the map, one relative for each team. And within this map, there'll be a center battlefield, generally, like you have in a MOBA game, and there'll be different pathways from each spawn point. So that'll allow for opportunities between the teams to have different kind of places for interaction, as well as when we implement objectives into the game, there'll be opportunity for different places, kind of hidden, spread out throughout the game, so it's not so straight A to B to get to. It's going to be a 3D isometric shooter. It's going to be real time. It's building on the Unity game engine, which a lot of people are familiar with. So it's going to be very user friendly to a lot of gamers because many people are used to that kind of game. And a game I could maybe relay it to would be something like Diablo or Fallout. If you don't know what I mean when I say isometric, where it's just it's still 3D, but it's a top down view on an angle. If you know what I mean. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely.
If I could jump in just quickly there, Justin,
Yeah,
and kind
please
of
do.
talk about the reason for choosing that type of game, the MOBA battle arena style game.
Yeah, please go.
You mentioned earlier we were originally kind of 2D art with like a 2D kind of game planned as well. So the original plan was like a trading card game, right? Which lends itself fairly well to the play to earn sort of aspect of things. But after kind of looking into that and exploring the different options with that, we basically felt there's a lot of those sort of games out there, and they're not necessarily, well, I felt they're not necessarily the kind of games that I would play for fun personally. They're good and I appreciate them, and a lot of work goes into them. But the reason for going with the MOBA style was it seemed, and it still seems to me, to lend itself perfectly to play to earn, basically. So, people are going to play our game because they enjoy it and they play it for fun, but also there is that play to earn aspect to it. So these kind of fast paced arena battles that are very intense while people are playing and they're over fairly quickly and then you jump into another one. It gives a lot of opportunities for people to earn the Borgz token, right? So
That's right.
rather than one long game, which your team might not necessarily win at the end of it, and you don't end up with any Borgz tokens at the end, or just a small amount of Borgz tokens, it just seems like a very good kind of match to me. That style of game mixed with play to earn. So that's just what I wanted to say about the style of the game. There.
Very good. Right on. Thank you for that. Before we continue, I just do want to offer the stage to one of our OGs, Ada Meme. Hopefully they're standing by. I want to see if I can give them the show requests and give that invite. I'm going to invite Ada Meme to speak. All right, so that request has been sent. And they're gone. All right, so we're gonna continue. I'm not sure what happened there. It shows it's on mobile, so maybe it bugged out. So, anyways, Yoven, could you please carry on to question 2?
Yeah, I think you already explained a little bit about the gameplay already. I think we went over it quite. Would you like to say anything more about the gameplay of the game?
I'm not sure if he mentioned it was that we were going to be starting off with a 5 versus 5 team base,
Yeah.
with the potential to scale up as we move forward. Because some people like to have
Mm-hmm.
large player-based maps. So originally we're going to start with 5 versus 5, and obviously if we can need to scale up as the games go further into maybe a 10 versus 10, but we're definitely 5 versus 5 is the vision. I do
Yeah,
think
and
that covers most of it, though. Yeah, for sure. There's one mechanic people might wonder about, like what's going to look like when they're walking around, and like how does the character interact with the environment? Maybe, they're going to be do things like walking and running, jumping, rolling, and taking cover. Those kind of actions. Basically anything you can expect from an action-based real-time game. So I'm not for if you didn't catch it, it's not real. It is real time. It's not turn-based.
I think we move on to the next question, which is about the Borgz tokens and how I can use them in the game.
Sure, yeah.
So, what items should I think of? Right? How will they affect my character while I'm playing the game?
Is this the question that
Mhm.
says? All right, so sorry, just rephrase the question. I got you here. So we're gonna have items in the game. They're in the white paper, so if you haven't had a chance to read the white paper, I encourage you to do so. Please go check that. We're gonna have things like healing items, movement speed boosts, shield upgrades, or maybe if your shield goes out, you can activate it as a booster. Consumables, which I anticipate to be heavily used, will be things like grenades, maybe some traps and bombs. We'll also have things such as skins, and these skins are not only going to be cosmetic, but they'll also have a slight modifier to them. So within our NFT, there will be a stat such as health, armor, shield, and speed. And the skins that we have will act as a small modifier to these. So if you have a particular game style that you plan on setting up your character to play, you can change your skin to better accommodate that. So your Borgz tokens will be able to be used in game as a means of purchasing these items, such as consumables, and using them to how you see fit, taking them into the battlefield with you to your advantage, hopefully winning you the battle.
All right. Well, that sounds cool, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that question actually kind of relates to the
Yeah.
last question in regards to like gameplay and the style of gameplay. So what we want through the use of these items, and particularly the skins, is for players to be able to modify their own style of gameplay, if you see what I mean. So there'll be like overall rules, right, which the game has to follow, but we'd like it so that, like Justin said, if you have a particular style of gameplay that you enjoy, then you can modify your own experience using these items and skins. That's, in my opinion, that's the main use case for these items, right? That everybody has a different kind of style of play that they enjoy, and that might change day to day as well. Like one day you might want to use the scout skin, another day use like a different skin,
Be
like
heavy
an
armor, right?
explosive style skin. Yeah, you can modify it from day to day or even game to game. So it's just another way of making the game more enjoyable over a longer period of time. I think it's a good way to do that.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so I have actually went and cleared all requests to speak just since we have started. There was a couple hands up. From here on, if you would like to speak, please throw those hands up again, and I will offer you the floor to ask. And right away, we've got one of our OGs, someone who I've personally talked to for quite a while in this project, Crypto Borg. I'm going to give them the floor and allow them to speak. Let's see if it works.
There we go.
Welcome. Let's see.
We can't hear you, Sontaran.
Okay, we'll just give them a minute, see if they can figure that out. If not, we'll move on. And there's actually something I can I want to say here while we wait for them to figure this out. Is I had a nice learning moment at work today. It was something that really reflects on the whole the ethos I like to live by of solutions, not problems. So I was at work today, and I meant to cut some insulation. That's what I do. And I had a plan. I was going to cut it to this size. It was going to go on like this, and away I went. And when I cut it the wrong way. But when I stepped back and I looked at it and I cursed for a couple minutes, I said, well, how can I fix this? Instead of, going and getting more material and stuff, and I ended up finding a solution that in the end offered me a better product. So just want to talk about the silver linings of sometimes when mistakes happen, being able to deviate from the original plan and find a solution out of that problem, even if it's not what you originally planned. It might be the same, it might be slightly less, or it might be a better product in the end. But it's all right to deviate from a mistake because what we find is solutions, not problems.
Mm.
So we haven't
Love
heard.
that, Justin.
No, thank you. So I haven't heard anything from Crypto Borg, so I'm gonna move forward. Ask you, Yoven, if you could please ask the next question that we have.
Yeah, the question regards Borgz NFTs. Question is, will items purchased with Borgz be an NFT, which I could resell on an NFT marketplace, or will they only be used in game, for example? And then I mentioned the cornucopias NFTs, right, which are vehicles which I can use in game, but I can also sell at an NFT marketplace.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. And this question is going to be constantly being reevaluated considering the way of the ecosystem. And when I say that, I mean, we all know how things are happening. We have the Vassal hard fork coming. They're getting rid of collateral. Transactions are going to move faster and things are different. However, when we step back and we think about it, we say, does a grenade need to be an NFT? Does it really? What's the purpose? Who? So you think of a game and a grenade, it comes and goes, it goes boom, and hopefully it kills your enemy. And when we started introducing things like that as an NFT, then that introduces the complexity of, well, how does it work mechanic wise? Is it a cooldown? Well, if it is, then it's not sustaining. You've got it forever. So it's going to be something that you burn. Obviously, you pull that pin and it goes away, or it's a health pack. You use that and and you heal yourself, so it goes away. If it's an NFT, then what do? We got to burn it or something. So we decided that the smaller objects, things that are consumables, and the things that don't need to be an NFT, we don't see the necessity behind making an NFT. It just kind of adds more strain on the network. It's making the things more complex. We need new policy IDs. It's going to be new things on the store, but it adds a lot. So, we are a game, right? So we want to keep a game to game. So you are going to use your Borgz tokens to buy these objects, these items. However, they're not going to be NFTs because there's no need to have smaller NFTs. But that being said, there's how we're looking at expanding further, and nothing is written in stone. Maybe certain things will be NFTs like armor or mechanical arms. Now we need to expand upon that further as things develop. That's not something we can promise you right now, but what I can say is that the smaller items, the things like the health packs, the grenades, those boosters, those consumables that you're really going to rely on when you go into a battle to win it, they're not going to be an NFT because it just adds so much extra that we don't really need as gamers to make more complex in the system. The goal is to give you the freedom of the currency and the monetary value, but we don't really need to make everything into an NFT, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
right, so
great.
Perhaps I could just expand a little bit on more of an overall view of like the reasoning behind this rather than actual in-game items and stuff. It's more of a personal thing for me than anything else. I think some of our members know, not all of our members know. I'm currently living in Vietnam, and I'm kind of have been on and off for the last 6 years or so between the UK and Vietnam, and I started a family here and stuff. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is regarding like play to earn and NFT items and stuff, and it's what I want to talk about is like our ethos regarding the reason for going with a play to earn aspect to our game is that it gives people the ability to sell on their character or items or whatever that NFT might be. If they choose to, they have the ability to not only monetize their playtime but also like the in-game assets as well. So during, I know, sorry to mention COVID again, but when it was all going on and lockdowns and things, I saw businesses out here closing down. And in this part of the world, like Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Philippines, play to earn became massive because it was helping people actually support their families after they lost their business or they lost their job. And part of that was due to the fact that they can sell on the NFT characters or the NFT items. That being said, like Justin already said, you don't want to make everything an NFT, because to warrant it being an NFT, it has to be something that you have the ability to sell on, meaning someone
Right.
else is going to want to buy it, right?
And maybe some form
That
of
doesn't make
scarcity,
sense.
right? But we don't need
Yeah,
grenades starting to be scarcity or health packs. We want
exactly.
our
Yeah,
sorry, we want our player base to be able to access these things without whales coming in and just the whole, how everyone knows how the market goes. So let's just keep in-game items to in-game items.
yeah, and it makes our NFT sales or NFT collections, like you say, scarcer and just seem more special in general as well. We don't want everything being NFT.
And
But
now I'm going to expand on that just for a second. Now, I'm sure there may be some people wondering, well, will there be an in-game marketplace for these kind of items? And well, yeah, we're going to have a marketplace where you can transfer your Borgs and you buy these items. But between player versus player, we can't answer that. For the reason is, for anyone who knows Diablo 3's auction house, that turned into a bit of a shit show, and they ended up getting rid of it for a reason. And we do want to kind of learn from past mistakes, but it might be something we'll look into and explore. However, we're not going to guarantee that there'll be a marketplace for smaller items such as the grenades and to transfer between player bases. That might be something that might be done more individually on a player-to-player level. Okay, now I'd like to move on to the next question, if you could, please, Yoven.
Of course. So it's a question about safety and security of most the wallet connection to the game. So I asked, how will the game know that I own an NFT, right? And how will it connect to the game itself? Will there be a DApp? And if so, how am I able to safely and security connect my wallet to the game?
Okay, awesome question. First and foremost, we are fortunate to be building on Cardano, which everybody knows as of right now is one of the most secure blockchains out there. So we do have that going for us. Now, as the game development progresses forward, we will have a DApp connector within our game, which most people should be familiar with by now if they're buying NFTs. You connect your wallet using a DApp connector, unless you're doing it the old-fashioned way and just sending a ADA to an address. So anyways, we'll have the game where you load up, you use the DApp connector and connect your wallet of choice, and we'll try to make sure that we appeal to everyone. And as for security, we can't say we're going to have a big high-end audit because we're not a decentralized exchange or anything, but we are going to make sure we work with professionals when it comes to this sort of thing to ensure the safety. Because what one big thing about this, the biggest thing really, is the security of everyone's money, because we do all know about what's been happening lately, and we don't want to be seeing people be involved with that sort of thing on the Cardano network. So security is going to be paramount for us. So wallet integration within the game to let the game know that you have the NFT, and by doing so, that'll give you access to the competitive play. And we're going to make sure before we get to that, throughout our testing, that is safe and secure for our player base.
Awesome. Yeah, security, especially with everything going on now, is so very important. So I'm glad to hear that. We as a team, right, we're really looking into it. Shall we just move on to the next question?
Yep. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw your hands up. If I don't see it right away, don't worry, I'll get to you. I do welcome you to ask a question. Okay, well, right away, we got Rocket Scientist, who's an OG. We're going to give this a second try, see if this fella can get going. All right, let's see. Stand by with me for a second, folks. All right, welcome. We can hear you.
Hey, I was just wondering what you guys see drawing everyone to the ecosystem a week from now, a month from now, a year from now.
For the ecosystem as a whole, when it comes to cryptocurrency?
Specifically for Borgz, not for ADA per se.
I like to for myself as a gamer, the biggest thing that drew me to this is the ability to have the control of my monetary play. So, for instance, I was playing a game on my mobile phone, Marvel Strike Force, and I got into it with a buddy, and we're having fun playing it. And all of a sudden, he's sending me a text. He just spent $300 in the game to this character that's outdated 2 months later. He's got no control of this. So this comes to the whole what Nick was just talking about with the whole play to earn aspect. I think with Battle Borgz, if we can get to the vision that we want to create, which we are totally aiming for in a mission-driven focus, then we're going to be bringing a very cool sci-fi isometric game, which hasn't been heard of on the Cardano network yet. So we are aiming to be that first game. There is isometric out there. Shout out to Ada Ninjas because they've got their game going. But we are looking to be the first sci-fi based game on the Cardano network, drawing in new players what is Cardano and what play to earn games do they have. And I'm a sci-fi intrigue gamer, so I'm going to this Cardano network for the first time. And what do they got? And they got boom, Battle Borgz. So we're hoping to be able to offer that ability to monetize your gameplay to those who are really drawn in to the sci-fi aspect sort of things. I hope that does answer your question. I hear silence, so I'm gonna take it as a yes.
I got his mic muted. Yep, there.
Yep, all good.
There we
Right
go.
on. Thanks, Rocket. Appreciate the question. That's a good one.
Question.
All right, Yoven, if we can move on to the next, please.
Yeah, of course. Was a question about we have this mobile game, but how many maps are there going to be with when the game releases, and are we planning to add in more in the future, right?
Great. Awesome. Yeah, good question. I've had several people at work who I talked to ask me this very question. Well, we're not going to overplay ourselves. We are just going for the one map to start. We would rather try to focus on one quality map versus a variety of maps that have maybe only been half thought out. And, because every time you create a new map, you then have to ask, is this offering the challenge to the players, such as are the pathways challenging? Is it too direct? Is it unique enough to be its own map? So instead of that, we're going to focus on one map to begin with. And going back, like I said, one map, 2 spawn points, center field with alternate pathways. Now, as we move forward, we do want to create more maps. So can't say for sure where we're going to be in a year from now, but definitely we are planning on adding more maps. And just to expand a little bit further upon the map, the 2 spawn points are going to be themed to the respective starting side. So if you're playing as the Battle Borgz character, you're going to start in the Borg Corp facility. And if you're a Resistance faction, then you're going to start in the Resistance starting area, which will be less high-tech looking and more dystopian.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great explanation of what we're going with, right?
Awesome, thanks.
Let's see. Let's move on to the next question. What will be the main difference between the two factions, right? So we got this map, we got these Borgs, we got these Resistance guys. What kind of what's the difference between the main two, and will there be any difference in gameplay mechanic, right, based on the faction you're in?
Okay, I love this question because it really kind of fleshes out what it's going to look like aesthetically when you start thinking of two teams, because we all seen what the Borgs look like, but some people wonder, well, what does the Resistance look like? And these people are going to be definitely more dystopian guerrilla warfare type people, because considering the fact that Borg Corp has taken over a majority of the human population, they've had to live kind of in the shadows. So guerrilla warfare tactics is really the only way they can get by. So when we get to the Resistance team later on in project development, what you're going to see is humans that have high-tech weaponry that has been reclaimed, maybe reforged from sorry, I'm getting some messages here. Reclaimed, reforged from some Borgs that they have killed in the battlefield.
Mhm.
They're going to be more ragged looking. So for people who have seen, maybe Mad Max, dystopian, living in the desert style, or let's say the game Fallout, these people have had to get by modifying their current modern day technology that
Yeah.
it doesn't conform to Borg Corp, but somehow make it work for them. They're going to be more more let's creative. Let's say they're going to
Yeah.
be, instead of a shield, they're going to be using maybe a car door with armor plating on it, sort of thing, rather than them having a high tech shield that Borg Corp would have. So you're going to see a big difference between the Battle Borgz having high tech weaponry and cybernetics versus the humans having things that they've had to salvage along the way to get by. But this is what's made them a worthy adversary, because you may wonder, well, how are they surviving? Well, that's how they've survived, is by being the way that they have, using the guerrilla warfare,
Yeah. Adapting.
Yes, they adapt to their surroundings and getting by, and that's going to give us lots of opportunity to flesh out further lore between the two teams.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm really looking forward to getting into, and I think you guys are as well. There's just so many different ways we can go with the Resistance, and it's going to be really fun designing those characters. And like you said at the end there, Justin, the lore that goes with it as well. I've always loved that kind of dystopian space western sort of aesthetic. I absolutely love it. I'd kind of compare the way I'm envisioning the Resistance. I would kind of compare it to like I don't know, the sci-fi series Firefly. I don't know if many people have seen
the
that.
movie Serenity for an alternate.
Right, Serenity, yeah. So you have like the Resistance in that against the Alliance. So in that case, the Alliance would be like Borg Corp, right? And then you've got this kind of space western cool Resistance with different factions within the Resistance. It's just going to be really interesting to get into that and flesh out the lore and how they look, how they move as well. We want to make sure that the animations between the two factions are different as well. Like the Borg Corp animation's much more robotic and cold looking, whereas we want to make the Resistance characters look and feel human, and it's going to be a lot of fun getting into that.
Awesome.
Very right on. All right, so thanks for that, Nick. That's something I'm actually looking a lot. It's one of those things I think about at night when I'm sitting there smoking some weed and start getting some creativity juices flowing, and I start thinking about these different things. I had that car door with the armor plating on it there not long ago, and I thought that was something that'd look really cool. So yeah, really looking forward to fleshing that out with you guys. So once again, I've tried opening the floor to our OG Crypto Borg, Sontaran. I'm not sure if they're able to speak this time. Can you hear us? Are you able to speak? Sounds like a no to me. So Yoven, if you could please carry on.
I got a feeling he's really trying.
He is trying.
Yeah, unfortunately. Well, let's wait out this next question then. So, I mean, a question that was on my mind when I first entered the project is like, how is it going to be played, right? What would it look like? Like, how would you compare Battle Borgz to a game we might already know? Is there like an example you can give us? The style or the vibe of Battle Borgz?
Okay, I do love this question. Okay, so I'm going to give 3 examples of different games. Now, when I say this, everyone listening, these games we take. Hi, I hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I'll get back.
Finally. Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm good. So I just wanted to ask, is there a plan for like something space station style where the Borg Corp has this thing that they are attacking from space and the Resistance can go to space?
Yes, I love that question. Oh, it's so good. Nick?
I like it too. Yeah, so this is something that we haven't entirely fleshed out, and it's not out in the public, I like it too. I like it a lot, and we actually discussed it briefly in, I think, the last team meeting we had, if not the one before.
Yeah.
Okay, just so everybody knows, I have been hinting to people here and there for about 4 months that Borgz in space? Question mark?
Yeah.
Because I am loving the idea of Borgz in space. And Nick, could you please tell them about the NFT, the comic that we had made, and how we've already kind of got the seed planted?
Yeah, so we made a special NFT for one of our original OG members, Ada Astronaut, someone who's been very supportive of our project from the start and a lot of other projects as well. He's taken a little bit of a step back from a general sort of NFT space at the moment. Otherwise, I think he would probably be in here. I can't see him in here. So we made a comic, sort of the same style as the comics that we've been raffling off. And it was like an astronaut on a Cardano-shaped space station looking down on the Earth with Borgs and Resistance fighting and looking down at the destruction on the Earth. So that's just, it's kind of planted the seed there for something in space.
Yeah, it's something that the idea of it is so sci-fi to me that I'm going to cling to that, and I'm not going to let go of it. So as long as we keep moving forward, it's something I'd like to see happen.
Something just for the people in here. We're not planning on releasing this image of this prior to mint, but there are going to be some Borgs with a special trait related to, there might be like some pilot Borgs possibly that are flying around in something, not in the NFT, but their clothing will relate to, some kind of spacecraft. So, yeah.
Very, very interesting to hear that.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that.
Because I remember this TV show, Battlestar Galactica.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you know where I'm coming from. The Cylons, they are, going after the Resistance and sort of like.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a big sci-fi fan when it comes to, say, Star Trek or anything. The Expanse is a great show that just came out in the last several years. I'm a big fan of.
Exactly.
Yeah, those great things. I very subconsciously am taking inspiration from these sort of projects from media. They offer a lot of things to take from.
Cool.
Big gaming enthusiasts, right? So we know our stuff from other games, movies, right? We take references.
So good.
That's nice.
Homages. All right.
Yep.
So thank you very much for asking that question. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming up to the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Good question.
No problem. Awesome. I am happy to have you on here. I've been chatting with you in DMs for a while, so it's very nice to hear you speak. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, so I'm going to get back to the question that you asked was what game can we compare it to? So I'm going to use a few examples. So one example I have used in the past would be the game Counter-Strike. And I use this game loosely. The reason is you got, a map with 2 spawn points. You've got maybe point A and point B. You've got short and long, different alternate routes. You start in the game. Before the game starts, you pick your consumables. If you're bringing Kevlar or a Kevlar and helmet, obviously Battle Borgz is going to be loadout different, more respective to our game, but things such as grenades and health packs and shield boosts. So, a pre-game lobby. So Counter-Strike is a game. However, we're not a first-person shooter. So that brings me to like more of a MOBA game. So any real isometric MOBA game you can think of would be something we're taking inspiration from. We're not looking to be exactly like a MOBA because our character actions and movements are going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more fast paced. That's what we're aiming for. So a game I like to use, and it's something that it's kind of a newer game. If I'm going to say this, if you look it up, it's something that I'm taking inspiration from as someone on the team, and it's called The Ascent. And this game is made by a smaller project. It is a 3D isometric sci-fi shooter game. Now it's more of less player versus player. Fiber, so it doesn't have that mechanic to it. This is a single cooperative kind of game where, you know, shoot 'em up, blast through NPCs. But when you look at this game and you see how it's a fast-paced, it's a sci-fi, and it's isometric, this is something I look at and I say, yes, this game was a fun game through and through, and I loved playing it till 3 a.m. until I was done it. And talking about it now, I want to play it again. Now, there's this one other game I'm going to say that randomly comes off the top of my head. I haven't said this to the rest of the team, so I'm just speaking for myself here, but it's called The Surge. If anybody's played The Surge, it's kind of like a Souls type game. It's by a different studio. It's not as big, and they got a game called The Surge 2. And it's just kind of like a sci-fi dystopian, you know, they're not cyborgs, but they're people who have kind of getting integrated with technology and kind of like exosuit sort of thing. So that's another game I like to look at for inspiration. So going back to your question, say mobile games, Counter-Strike and the Ascent, those are the kind of games that we're looking at.
Yeah, well, people can look them up, right, and say, okay, this is where we take our inspiration from, and in order to be able to create our own game and add our own sauce on top of that, right?
That's right, and like Nick and I are both gamers, but we play different games, so we're able to take different aspects from different kind of games and bring the inspiration from them, including with the, you know, you think of a Venn diagram, we got a lot of stuff happening in the middle that we're able to work with, and it's been working out really well for us. So, good question.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. Great. Let's talk a little bit about the skins, right? We talked a little bit about skins on characters, and I wanted to know if the skins in game, will they affect my character? Will there be multiple skins for every character? But also, will there be like power-ups? And I'm a little bit combining the questions here. Can they all be upgraded, right?
Okay, great question. So skins, they're going to be aesthetic. However, they are going to carry a small modifier. We have already lightly touched on this, but for anybody who's joined in afterwards, pardon me, so the skins are going to be aesthetic. They're going to carry a small modifier, and this modifier will affect one of your base stats. And this is going to basically allow you to customize your game style. So if you want to give yourself more health, more speed, or you know, more explosive damage, that sort of thing. That's something we're going to get into development later on. Once we get into kind of like alpha and beta testing, we'll be able to flesh all that out a lot more. Now you ask about upgrading. We're going to stick right now with just the basics, and then as we get to that, we're going to build from there. So once we get to that point, we're going to let our community and player base know, and our OGs are going to have access to beta testing later on, so we'll get into that. So once we kind of get to flesh this out stuff more, then we can work on expanding on how we'll upgrade that, because as a play to earn game, you know, we don't want to make it pay to win per se. So we don't want to make it so allow a potential for an exploit or for someone who's just grinding away to the point where they upgrade it and they're just destroying everyone without maybe having a system in place that separates them from lower characters. So it's something we need to work through, you know, if you know what I'm saying. We want to make sure that there is some kind of scaling when it comes to these people who are playing against each other. So we will start with just the skins and their modifier and the aesthetic look, and then we're going to build from there and see what we can work with it and with our game balancing.
Definitely, and kind of taking credit here.
I agree with everything there, Justin, and also just want to quickly say that the skins are just, you know, another way to make this game more fun for our players. Essentially, that's what it is. Like you said, a small bonus and mainly an aesthetic kind of change, but also about, like I said earlier, giving the player more agency, and they'll be able to differentiate their gameplay style between each match or each day or whatever. And just another layer to our game that's going to make it more interesting for the user.
Awesome.
Right on. Very good.
I'm actually taking credits for these questions, but they're actually been put forward by Prince.ay. I don't know if he's in the audience, he or she. But thank you for submitting the questions, right, from the for the AMA.
Yeah, no, those are good questions.
Definitely. How about we talk a little bit about the like, is it only PvP or will there be a story mode, right? Are we going to be able to play PvE versus the environment, NPCs?
Well, okay, so I said this before earlier about the
Yeah.
teams being 5 versus 5. So that's going to start off in a PvP fashion. The reason being is it's just much easier to build a game from the ground up and to player versus player, because once you start introducing bots, and let's be honest, it's not as fun playing with bots for a lot of times. A lot of games come out with bot functions and they're minimal. So we're going to start with the PvP where everyone can play. It's going to be, we're going to have a free mode for those who don't have the NFTs, but they won't have access to the whole gameplay mechanics, NFT mechanics side of things. So start with PvP and then move on to PvE afterwards. This question asks, is there going to be a story mode? We don't have a story mode planned. We want to tell a lot of our story sort of through the map and different other fashions such as comics. However, as a gamer myself, the idea of building a Battle Borgz story mode sounds excellent. So that's not off the table at all. I would very much love to do that. However, it's not our original plan. Our first plan is to make a PvP, a 5 versus 5 for players.
Yeah.
With the idea of a PvE afterwards. Just start with the PvP for initial gameplay.
Even in PvP games, right? A lot of like background story or can be told during in a PvP map environment, right?
Yeah, exactly. You see a lot of that in games such as like say Overwatch. They did a lot of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, like Justin said there, start out with PvP and get people interested in the game, and move on to PvE. I think PvE has a lot of options for us related to the lore and expanding the overall sort of game story. So that could be really interesting to get into, specifically with kind of resistance members and possible storylines there between interactions between resistance members and Borg Corp members. There's a lot of stuff we can go into. Something I'll quickly mention about the PvE mode. It also opens up possibilities for sort of collaborations between us and other projects as well. It's not something that I'd really like to involve into the PvP aspect of things. But if we could just like possible ideas, and something I've spoken about with a couple of people would be like having a character from another project involved in our PvE as possibly like a boss or like a side character that can add to the story. It's just ideas for now. But it's something that I think could be really fun, and it would be good for our project overall if we could collaborate with other projects related to our PvE aspect.
Yeah, when you say that, man, I get excited to even think about that. I love the idea of these projects being able to work together. There have been lots of projects that I've personally been able to reach out to and just say, hey, do you mind helping out a landing hand, or can you offer some insight and sort of thing, or can you point me in the right direction? And they're always willing and happy to help. So it'd be really cool in the future to get these kind of collaborations going on with other big projects where, if they're another play to earn game, we could get something like them integrated in with us for some play to earn storytelling.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I think that's a lot of what Cardano and CNFTs are about, is kind of working together, making it good for everyone, and with a kind of fun aspect in there as well.
That's right. And you see that sort of thing a lot in comics. You see Judge Dredd doing stuff with other projects, and you see the Alien versus Predator, all that sort of thing, and it really ends up building something noteworthy in the end. So it's something that we could definitely look into for sure.
The main focus right now is on PvP aspect, of course.
100% PvP, and then build onto that afterwards.
Talking about PvP. Battle Royale modes, very, very popular. Will something like that be in Battle Borgz?
We don't initially plan on having a battle royale in it. We do want it to be kind of just a team, either a deathmatch free for all or.
Yeah,
Pardon
we're
me.
not a battle royale project.
No. However, maybe as things go on, we've got our PvP, we got maybe another map, we've got PvE, we've got a couple collabs, and then we're doing good. Hey, let's maybe consider open up a bigger map where we can get, say, 20 to 30 Borgs on there. But that's not something we're building for right now. But it is something we can definitely consider in the future.
All right. What platforms are we going to release the games on?
Oh, great, good question. It's actually, I was asked earlier by someone I know personally. We're going to initially start off with PC and Windows, further expand on the Mac OS, which is shouldn't be any problem with the Unity game engine. And then Android and iOS phones being what they are today, depending on how the game engine works with a port over to those operating systems, we can definitely consider doing that. But there's going to be a big thing with how DApp connectors and everything are working. So we're going to be at the mercy of all the different DApp connectors, the developers that are out there working. So back, like I said, we're going to start with PC and then to Mac and then mobile if we can.
Yeah, then maybe something to expand upon, like will it be like an installer, right? Or will I be able to play it from my browser?
I can't answer that. I would like it to be an installer, but it depends on how labor intensive it is on the system.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said earlier, Justin, we're trying to keep it realistic at the moment and not walk before we can run, right? But that being said, MOBA games and mobile, they go hand in hand, don't they? So something to look into.
Awesome. Of course, very important. We're talking here about the game and future vision, but who are the people developing the game, right? Can you tell us something about the development team behind the game, and if it's grown since our last community update a couple of months ago, I think?
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll answer this to the best of my capabilities. Nick, please do step in if there's any corrections. But we're currently working with a team of 3 developers working on basic game functions. We also, have an animator we have worked with we've contracted out. And after we get through this mint, what we're looking to do is get on with a dedicated game studio, someone who has experience in developing similar games to our own vision, and we do have our sights on someone just for that purpose. Just because we want to make sure that everything can get created the way we can. Initially, in early stage development, we were going to do more indie development, but once we took that 3D step, things needed a more professional outlook. So once we finish our mint, we're going to work with a dedicated game studio to get on that.
Yeah, we're really going to scale up.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I've actually been working on that this week and have a couple of meetings next week related to that as well. So, yeah, looking into dedicated game studios, as Justin said.
Right on.
Awesome.
And one last thing is we also had you, not that you're part of the development team, but we did have you included since the last update.
Definitely.
You have joined the team.
I did. I'm very happy about that. So, we're kind of in a bear market nowadays.
It's been rough.
It's been rough. A lot of stuff happened. How's it? Maybe we can talk a little bit about how we're doing, right? And what we're doing to make sure we can support our game development.
Yeah, it's a great question. That's like one of those really hard nervous questions to ask and to answer.
Definitely.
So, like Nick, like Nick said, he started up in October, and October was not a bear market whatsoever. And then I jumped in around January, February, and we still weren't in a bear market. Things was starting to look like we were at the top of the hill, though, and we were. So we had our seed sale there, which we were like we did really well. We sold out 100%. Then we had a couple more sales from there, which, admittedly, we didn't do as well as we'd like because those sales did happen during the crash, during the Luna crash, and during every bear market macroeconomic like onslaught that was happening. However, we secured a major amount of our assets in the very beginning, our capital, I should say. Nick has been very well with handling our budget. So through the first sale, we secured 100%, and then we secured from our second two sales. We also have an ongoing faucet to sell our Borgz token. That actually has been done really well for us. You can access that through our website, battleborgz.com. There's a little button there that says token buy. So after that, we've also got the Catalyst proposal, and the Catalyst proposal we've got in there. I think today might have been the last day to register for that. I'd like to say that we did very well on that. So to all our folks listening, that we put in this Catalyst proposal, and it came back with assessments that didn't seem like they were bots, and they were very genuine. And we got an average about 4.5 out of 5, which is very good to hear. We're very happy. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to get funding because we still need to have the votes for our project. But we are very happy to say that we got a very good assessment on a proposal. We asked for 31,000 American. That would USD. Sorry, that would help with just paying for future development and a little bit marketing and all this stuff. So if we get that, all that information should be there in the proposal, all the specifics. So those things that we have done. And, Battle Borgz be building. We've been just slowly working through the times, watching all the rug projects come and go, the ones that showed up overnight and disappeared, or just the ones that I'm not sure, just that don't have I'm not sure what their goal is in the end, but we've been doing our thing through this bear market, just building and trying to get to where we want to do. We've had to make some adaptations. Like I said earlier to that sentiment I shared, we find solutions, not problems. So sometimes, as the market goes down, we've had to change some of our things. There's a reason why we didn't release our date and our price right away, because things were chaos out there. There was blood in the streets. But things are starting to look